I still see so many people struggling with the assessors in Arc Raiders. There's some really easy ways to make this a lot simpler. Firstly, you don't need smoke grenades. So if you don't have the blueprint, there are other methods, and I'll show those today. I will show you where you can get the smoke grenade blueprint though, because it's certainly a nice way to do it. For those that don't have the smoke grenade blueprint, the Lil smoke grenade works perfectly fine. Yes, it only has a 6-second duration, but you can time it well to use this. But it's going to require 3 little smoke grenades for each breach. Bear that in mind. So what you want to do, the second before you breach it, throw a little smoke grenade at your feet, start the breach, and once you're about a third of the way through, leave the breach and then drop another smoke grenade. The breach progress will stay. It won't get reset. And then you can continue to breach it. As soon as the breach is done, before you start looting, leave the menu and throw another smoke grenade on the ground, and you should have just enough time to loot all of the items in the container before popping your photoelectric cloak and moving away from all of the arc in the area. Now, what if I told you you didn't even need a smoke grenade at all? Yeah, you don't need one. Actually, you really don't. All you need to do is go up to the assessor, breach it, immediately pull your photoelectric cloak, and then just go sit in a nearby bush. Most assessors will land near a bush on Buried City and down Battlegrounds. It's going to be a little harder to pull this off on Spaceport and Blue Gate, keep that in mind. But as long as the Ark don't have the red alert color on their eye, and instead they have the yellow searching color on their eye, they don't know where you are yet. So as long as you sit still in a bush, eventually they won't be able to find you. And since today's update, the Ark will actually just fly away into the distance and despawn. So you really don't need to worry too much. Just breach it to spawn in the wave of arcs, use your photo cloak to go and sit in a nearby bush, wait for the arc to get bored and leave you alone, and then you can go breach it safely. Also, fun fact, if there are other people in the area that run by and start getting the aggro of the arc, then you're pretty safe to just go and loot this in amongst all of the chaos, without a smoke grenade, by the way. Now, if at any point an arc does aggro on you, don't panic. Just immediately get your photo cloak out and walk to the nearest piece of cover and give it some time for it to reset. I think the biggest learning lesson for a lot of people here is bushes work as cover. You can hide in them and the arc will not see you there. And this is going to be a really great way for you to sit somewhere safe and let your photo cloak recharge if you need it to, or to just use it as a way to get the arc's attention off of you. Now, admittedly, both of these methods are a little bit riskier than just using the good old smoke grenade. So how can we get this blueprint if you need it? Well, it's only going to spawn in one set of containers, residential containers. It actually shares the same blueprint loophole as most level 2 and lower rarity attachment blueprints. So here are some good places to try and get this if you're looking for it. Obviously, most of Buried City is good. In this side of the map, you're going to get a lot of residential containers. I really like Blue Gate Village because there's a really high concentration of residential containers in this area. Another good suggestion is the business center, lobby, and atrium, which has a lot of residential containers as well. Some people also prefer the apartments in the top side of Damn Battlegrounds. All of these contain residential containers, which are going to have a higher chance to spawn the smoke grenade. Bear in mind, it is still a pretty rare blueprint. I would highly recommend doing this on a day raid because then the blueprint loophole isn't quite as vast. If you do a night raid or a 2x event, when you open up residential containers, you're going to get a bunch of other higher level attachment blueprints thrown into the mix as well, which is going to further limit your chances of getting the smoke grenade. Now, if you finally do get the smoke grenade, there's another problem: the resources. You need a lot of canisters to craft these things, and also you're going to need a lot of speaker components because the photo cloak will be used a lot and it will actually break down and you'll need to repair it. Don't worry, I've got you covered. What you're going to need to do is go to Buried City and loot space travel and research. In these buildings, you will find desks that have a high chance of spawning canisters, and also computers on the desks very often have speaker components. These kind of drawers can also be found in the Spaceport departure building area and the arrival building. You'll also find some in the Blue Gate control room, so they are kind of spread across all over the game. Also, in Down Battlegrounds, you'll find the same kind of containers in the research and administration area. All right, so we've talked about the things that you can control in terms of your loot, the strategies, dealing with the arc, but there's one more big problem with the assessors, and that's other people. A lot of us are already in pretty high PvE matchmaking lobbies, so there's not really much killing going on. But that doesn't stop people from being a little bit disrespectful and cheeky when it comes to looting these things, and everyone's sort of just barging onto it and fighting for their spot to loot it, which can be quite frustrating and a pretty bad experience, to be honest. I think we need to set some etiquette for this thing. Like, if you get there first and you're the one to smoke it or breach it, you should be able to loot the side that you've put the effort into. I'll be honest, if I've put the effort in to smoke something and start breaching it and someone somehow barges in front of me, I'm going to start hitting them with my melee. Oh, I'm going to shoot them. There needs to be some ground rules. This is not cool. That, to me, if someone comes and barges in my way, that's an act of aggression. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you in the game until you go away. It's as simple as that. And I think there needs to be some level of like respect down at some point. Like the people who try to get away with this need to realize that they can't. Also, if you see someone else looting a side of an assessor, then just wait your turn. There are many, many assessors to go around. And that's another thing. A lot of people will rush to the very first assessors that spawn into the match. You have like 5 or 6 players fighting over one assessor spawn, and well, it's just not going to go very well. It's better instead to kind of sit back, wait patiently for the next assessor to come down and get there early before anyone else does. You've got the visual cues to see where it spawns. I find that to be a much more effective way instead of trying to all pile onto the first couple assessors that spawn into the match. Another thing, try not to kill too many surveyors until the later stages of the matches, because the surveyors need to be alive to spawn in the assessors. And also, the later stages of the match are honestly the most profitable. Most people either die or tap out pretty early on, and that leaves the later stages to have less players and less competition. So if you were to just wait like 10 minutes, you'll find that you have much more freedom to go and loot these things because most people have already run out of resources or they've died. Now, it's when you get in a moment like this where you can solo an entire assessor yourself that you'll really start to get a bunch of the loot you need very quickly for the project and also more chances to get the Delabra blueprint. So if you're in the later stages of a match, you're all alone, you've got to be a little bit more careful, and you can use all of the sort of suggestions I've used in this video to be able to loot it safely. What you want to do first is breach it, then throw down a smoke grenade, loot the items from the assessor, and then go hide in a nearby bush, wait for the arc to de-aggro. They'll fly away from the area and despawn, and then you can loot the other 2 sides, following the same pattern again. If you try and rush looting an assessor, especially if you're alone, the arc are going to keep swarming back because each time you breach it, it alerts arc in the nearby area. So you've got to have a bit of patience in between breaching each one of these assessor sides. Otherwise, the arc are going to swarm, there's going to be a massive swarm all at once, and you're going to really struggle, which I think is one of the biggest issues most players have. They try and rush it instead of waiting for the arc to dissipate. Another thing, if you try to shoot the arc or engage in fighting the arc, then it's going to take a longer time for them to fly away and get out of the situation. So approach this with patience. Understand that the arc are easy to avoid if you combine bushes, smokes, and photo cloak. Manage your photo cloak charge and try not to panic. If you just try to run away, you're going to die. You got to stop trying to run away, and you got to stop trying to panic, trying to fight other players for the assessors. Slow it down a little bit. Be patient. There are plenty of assessors to get your hands on, and you can do it with some patience and some care, and you can have much better results than if you just try to rush in there and try and race everyone else to do it first. Hopefully this video is useful and made you think about dealing with the arc in a different way. Stealth is king in this game mode, trust me. Give it a go and let me know how it goes. I'll see you in the comments. Cheerio.